My best friend lied about being pregnant for months, and when I showed up to meet the baby, I broke down in tears. I pounded on her front door harder, my fist starting to hurt. She'd been dodging my calls for 2 days straight, and her last text made no sense. Baby's fine, everything's fine, just needs space. What new mom needs space from her best friend? The curtains twitched in the front window. She was definitely home. I can see you in there, I shouted. I brought groceries, and I'm not leaving until you let me see my godchild. More silence. This was insane. 3 days ago, Rachel texted me that she was in labor. Then nothing. No hospital updates, no birth announcement, no photos. Brett wasn't answering his phone either. Something was seriously wrong. I tried the handle. Locked. But I knew Rachel kept a spare key under the fake rock by her porch steps. She'd given me permission to use it months ago when I started bringing her groceries during her 3rd trimester. The house felt wrong the second I stepped inside. Too quiet, too clean. Where were the flowers? The congratulations cards? The chaos of new parents figuring out how to keep a tiny human alive? Rachel, I called, setting the grocery bags on her kitchen counter. Where are you? Where's the baby? I heard movement upstairs, finally. Don't come up here. Rachel's voice drifted down, shaky and weird. What? Why not? Rachel, what's going on? Just give me a minute, please. A minute for what? I started up the stairs anyway. Are you okay? Is the baby okay? Rachel, you're freaking me out. Stop, don't come up here. But I was already at the top of the stairs, already pushing open her bedroom door, already seeing what she didn't want me to see. Rachel was sitting on her bed in an oversized hoodie, her face streaked with tears. But that wasn't what made me stop dead in my tracks. It was the thing on her dresser, flesh-colored, deflated, fake. A pregnancy belly? What the hell is that? She looked at me, then at the dresser, then back at me. I can explain. Explain what? Rachel, where's your baby? There is no baby. The words hit me like a punch to the chest. What do you mean there's no baby? I mean, I was never pregnant. Her voice cracked. I've been wearing that thing for 7 months. I stared at her, at the fake belly, at her tear-stained face. My brain couldn't process what I was seeing. 7 months, I repeated. You've been lying to me for 7 months. Chloe, please let me explain. The baby shower. My voice came out flat. 40 people, all those gifts. I know. The nursery. We painted the nursery together. I'm sorry. The doctor appointments. The ultrasound pictures. The morning sickness. Each word felt like I was swallowing glass. All of it was fake. Rachel nodded, sobbing now. I sat down hard in the chair by her window because my legs wouldn't hold me anymore. This was Rachel, my best friend since college, the person I trusted more than anyone in the world, and she'd been performing an elaborate lie for 7 months straight. I don't understand, I said, staring at the fake belly like it might explain itself. I don't understand any of this. I was scared, she whispered. Scared of what? That you'd leave me if you knew I couldn't have kids. I looked at her then, really looked at her. She looked smaller somehow, like the lie had been holding her up, and now that it was out, she was collapsing. Rachel, what are you talking about? The doctor told me last year, after we'd been trying for so long. He said it probably won't happen naturally, maybe not at all. She wiped her nose with her sleeve. And you were so excited when I told you we were trying, and I couldn't bear to see the disappointment in your eyes. So you faked an entire pregnancy instead. I thought I'd figure it out. I thought maybe by the time the due date came, I'd be brave enough to tell you the truth, or maybe I'd actually get pregnant for real and it wouldn't matter. She laughed, but it came out bitter. Stupid, right? I stared at the fake belly again. 7 months. 7 months of excitement and planning and shopping and dreaming about holding her baby. 7 months of her lying to my face every single day. Where's Brett in all this? Her face crumpled. He doesn't know. Nobody knows except you. Brett doesn't know his wife faked a pregnancy for 7 months? He's been traveling so much for work, and I got really good at making it seem real. The room felt like it was spinning. This wasn't just a lie. This was an entire alternate reality she'd constructed, complete with props and fake symptoms and made-up doctor visits. The ultrasound pictures, I said. I found them online. The morning sickness. I made myself throw up sometimes. The food cravings, the back pain, the late-night texts about feeling the baby kick. All fake. She looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. Chloe, I'm so sorry. I know you hate me now. I know you'll never forgive me. I opened my mouth to respond, but no words came. Because honestly, I didn't know what I felt. Anger, yes. Betrayal, definitely. But underneath all that was something else. Something that felt like heartbreak, but not just for me. For her too. 8 months earlier, I'd been elbow deep in wedding planning stress when Rachel called me during my lunch break. I need to tell you something, she'd said. And something in her voice made me put down my sandwich and pay attention. Good something or bad something? Good something, great something, life-changing something? I'd laughed. Rachel had always been dramatic, but in the best way. She was the friend who made everything feel more exciting, more important, more meaningful. Okay, I'm sitting down. Hit me. We're pregnant. I'd actually screamed. Right there in the office break room, loud enough that Karen from accounting dropped her yogurt. Are you serious, Rachel? Are you kidding me right now? 2 tests, both positive. We're having a baby, Chloe. I'd started crying immediately. The good kind of tears. The kind that make your chest feel like it might burst from happiness. Rachel and Brett had been trying for almost a year. Every month when her period came, she'd call me disappointed, wondering if something was wrong. Oh my God, Rachel. I'm so happy for you I can't even think straight. I know, I keep staring at the test thinking it's going to disappear or something. When are you due? Sometime in April, I think. I have a doctor's appointment next week to get everything confirmed. This is the best news ever. Brett must be losing his mind with excitement. He cried, she'd said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. Like, actually sobbed. It was the sweetest thing I've ever seen. Rachel and I had met freshman year of college when we got stuck as roommates in the worst dorm on campus. She was studying to be a teacher. I was majoring in graphic design. On paper, we had nothing in common. She was organized and thoughtful. I was chaotic and impulsive. She woke up at 6 a.m. to go running. I considered noon an early morning. But somehow we just worked. She kept me grounded. I pushed her to take risks. She remembered my deadlines when I forgot them. I made her laugh until she snorted. By sophomore year, we'd chosen to room together. By senior year, people just assumed assumed we came as a package deal. After graduation, we both ended up in the same city by accident and decided it was fate. She got hired at Riverside Elementary teaching second grade. I landed a job at a small marketing firm downtown. We found apartments 10 minutes apart and fell into an easy routine. Sunday brunch at Mel's Diner, Wednesday night yoga classes that we mostly used to catch up on gossip, Friday movie nights with takeout and terrible reality TV. When Rachel met Brett at my cousin's wedding 3 years ago, I knew immediately they were going to get married. He was steady where she was anxious, funny where she was serious. He made her laugh at herself. She made him want to be better. They balanced each other perfectly. I'd been maid of honor at their wedding 2 years later. Small ceremony, just family and close friends, exactly what Rachel had always wanted. During her vows, she'd talked about building a life together, about creating a family, about all the dreams they shared. Brett had cried then too. So when she got pregnant, it felt like the most natural thing in the world for me to be completely involved. She wanted me to come to her first doctor's appointment because she was nervous and Brett had to work. I need someone there who's going to be as excited as I am, she'd said. Brett's thrilled, but you know how he is. Mr. Practical. He'll want to talk about insurance and budgets. I just want someone to cry happy tears with me. That first appointment had been magical. Hearing the heartbeat for the first time, seeing the tiny blob on the ultrasound screen that would become my godchild. Rachel had squeezed my hand so tight I thought she might break my fingers. Look at that, the technician had said, pointing to a flickering spot on the monitor. Strong heartbeat. Everything looks perfect. Rachel had started sobbing right there on the exam table. That's our baby, she'd whispered to me. Can you believe it? That's actually our baby. I'd thrown myself into being the best friend and future godmother possible. I researched everything. Prenatal vitamins, baby proofing, the safest car seats. I bought her books about pregnancy and parenting, comfortable clothes for when her regular wardrobe stopped fitting, special pillows to help her sleep better. When she started showing in her second trimester, we'd spent hours shopping for maternity clothes. She'd been self-conscious at first, worried about her changing body, but I'd made her try on everything until she found styles that made her feel beautiful. You're glowing, I'd told her in the dressing room at Target, and I'd meant it. She'd looked radiant, her hand resting protectively on her growing belly. I feel like a whale, she'd said, turning sideways to look at her profile in the mirror. You feel like a woman creating life, I'd corrected. There's nothing more beautiful than that. We'd painted the nursery together when she was 6 months along. Soft yellow walls because they were waiting to find out the gender. We'd spent an entire weekend on it. Me on the ladder cutting in around the ceiling, Rachel rolling paint on the lower sections and talking about all her hopes for the baby. I want them to feel safe here, she'd said, stepping back to admire our work. Like this room is their special place in the world. They will, I'd promised. This baby is going to be so loved, Rachel. By you, by Brett, by everyone who meets them. The baby shower had been my masterpiece. Rachel had wanted something small and elegant, just close friends and family. I'd spent weeks planning every detail, hand-painted invitations, a dessert table with cupcakes shaped like baby bottles, games that were actually fun instead of awkward. I'd coordinated with Brett's mom and sister, made sure everyone on the guest list knew what Rachel really needed versus what she just wanted. It had been perfect. 35 people came bearing gifts and advice and stories about their own children. Rachel had been radiant in a flowing blue dress, her hand constantly resting on her belly, graciously accepting everyone's excitement and well wishes. You did too much, she'd told me afterward as we loaded presents into her car. Chloe, this was incredible. I can't believe you pulled all this together. I loved every minute of it, I'd said, hugging her carefully around her pregnant belly. I can't wait to meet this little one. She'd gotten quiet then, staring at all the baby gear packed into her back seat. I'm scared I'm going to mess this up, she'd admitted. Mess what up? Being a mom. What if I'm terrible at it? What if I can't figure out what the baby needs? What if I'm not maternal enough? Rachel. I'd put my hands on her shoulders, made her look at me. You're going to be an amazing mother. You're patient and kind and nurturing. You've been practicing for this your whole life without even realizing it. You really think so? I know so, and if you ever doubt it, you call me, okay? We're going to figure this parenting thing out together. She'd smiled then, but looking back now, there was something sad in her eyes that I'd missed at the time. The first red flag should have been the sonogram pictures. Rachel had always been the type to document everything. She kept photo albums from college, saved movie tickets from dates with Brett, took pictures of every meal when we went out to eat. So when she only showed me 2 ultrasound photos over the course of 8 months, I should have questioned it. The machine was broken at my last appointment, she'd said when I asked about getting more pictures. Dr. Martinez said we'll get better ones next time. But there never seemed to be a next time. Every appointment ended with some excuse. The equipment was down for maintenance. The baby wasn't in a good position. The technician was running behind schedule. Can't you just ask them to print extras? I'd suggested once. I want to put one on my fridge. They're really strict about it, Rachel had said quickly. Something about patient privacy and insurance policies, but I'll ask next time. She never asked next time. Then there was the way she handled her belly. Most pregnant women I knew couldn't keep their hands off their bumps, especially by the 3rd trimester. They rubbed their stomachs constantly, talked to the baby, invited people to feel for kicks. Rachel was the opposite. She kept her hands at her sides, wore loose clothing that hid her shape, and changed the subject whenever anyone mentioned wanting to feel the baby move. She's just private about it, I told Brett's sister when she complained that Rachel wouldn't let her touch her belly at the baby shower. Some women are like that, I guess, she'd said, but she'd looked confused. It's just weird, you know? I couldn't stop people from touching my stomach when I was pregnant. The baby was like a celebrity. I defended Rachel then, but the comment stuck with me. It was weird. Everything about Rachel's pregnancy felt muted somehow, like she was going through the motions without fully experiencing it. The doctor appointments were another thing. Early on, she'd invited me to come with her, and I'd been there for that first magical ultrasound. But as the months went on, she stopped mentioning her appointments until after they happened. How did it go today? I'd ask when I knew she'd had a checkup. Fine, she'd say. Everything's normal. Baby's measuring right on track. But she never had details. No stories about what the doctor said, no updates about her blood pressure or weight gain, no mentions of discussing birth plans or hospital preferences. When I'd ask specific questions, she'd give vague answers that felt rehearsed. What did Dr. Martinez say about your back pain? He said it's normal for this stage. Did he give you any recommendations for dealing with it? Just the usual stuff. Rest when I can, use a heating pad. I started paying more attention to the things she wasn't saying. She never complained about heartburn or swollen feet or trouble sleeping, all the things my other pregnant friends couldn't stop talking about. She never mentioned food aversions or weird cravings beyond the pickles and ice cream she'd mentioned early on. You're so lucky, I'd told her once. You're having the easiest pregnancy ever. I guess I'm just built for this, she'd said, but something in her voice sounded off. The baby shower had been when things really started to feel strange. Rachel had seemed tense the entire time, like she was performing rather than celebrating. She'd opened every gift with the right amount of enthusiasm, said all the right things, posed for all the pictures with her hands on her belly. But there was something mechanical about it all. Are you okay? I'd whispered to her during a lull in the gift opening. You seem stressed. I'm fine, she'd said, but she was sweating despite the air conditioning, just overwhelmed by everyone's generosity. That night, after everyone had gone home and we were cleaning up, she'd seemed more like herself again. Thank you for doing all this, she'd said, carefully folding baby clothes and putting them in gift bags. I know I was weird today. I just get anxious when I'm the center of attention. You weren't weird, I'd lied. You were glowing. But she hadn't been glowing. She'd been sweating and fidgeting and avoiding eye contact with most of the guests. Looking back, she'd acted like someone with something to hide. The weirdest part had been when Brett's mom tried to feel the baby kick during dessert. Rachel had practically jumped away from her, claiming the baby was sleeping and she didn't want to disturb them. Brett's mom had looked hurt, and I'd spent the rest of the party making excuses for Rachel's behavior. She's just tired, I'd told people. Third trimester is rough. But I'd started keeping track of the odd moments. The way she never let anyone touch her stomach. The way she avoided talking about specific symptoms or doctor visits. The way she seemed uncomfortable whenever the conversation focused too much on the pregnancy itself rather than the preparations around it. When she hit 35 weeks, I'd suggested we start discussing birth plans and hospital bags. There's time for that, she'd said. I don't want to jinx anything. Jinx what? Rachel, you're almost at full term. You need to be prepared. I know. I just want to wait a little longer. But she never brought it up again. Every time I mentioned it, she deflected. She hadn't toured the hospital. She hadn't packed a bag. She hadn't even discussed pain management options with her doctor as far as I could tell. What if you go into labor early? I'd asked. Then we'll figure it out when it happens, she'd said. Women have been having babies for thousands of years without detailed birth plans. That wasn't like Rachel. She was the most organized person I knew. She planned everything down to the last detail. The fact that she was being so casual about something as important as giving birth should have set off alarm bells, but I'd trusted her. I'd trusted that she knew what she was doing, that she had her reasons for being private about certain aspects of her pregnancy. I told myself that everyone handled pregnancy differently, that I was being too nosy, that I should respect her boundaries. Looking back now, the signs were everywhere. But when you love someone, when you trust them completely, you make excuses for the things that don't add up. You fill in the gaps with assumptions and good intentions. You convince yourself that your instincts are wrong because you can't imagine the alternative. I should have asked more questions. I should have pushed harder for details. I should have trusted the little voice in the back of my head that kept whispering that something wasn't right. Instead, I'd been the perfect supportive friend, giving her space when she needed it, backing off when she seemed uncomfortable, accepting her explanations without challenge. I'd been so focused on being supportive that I'd forgotten to be observant. Monday morning, I called in sick to work. I couldn't concentrate on anything except the growing certainty that Rachel was lying to me. I needed answers, and I was going to get them. First, I called Dr. Martinez's office. Hi, this is Chloe Stevens. I'm calling to check on my friend Rachel Bennett. She was supposed to deliver last week, but I haven't heard any updates. I'm sorry, the receptionist said, but we can't give out patient information to non-family members. I understand, but I'm her emergency contact and her best friend. I was at her appointments earlier in the pregnancy. Let me check her file. I could hear typing. I'm sorry, but I don't show any record of a Rachel Bennett as a current patient. My stomach dropped. Are you sure? She's been seeing Dr. Martinez for months. I've been here for 3 years, and we've never had a patient by that name. Is it possible she's seeing a different Dr. Martinez? There are several in the area. I hung up and immediately started searching online. There were 4 other doctors named Martinez in our city. I called each one. None of them had Rachel as a patient. Rachel had been lying about having a doctor. She'd been lying about appointments. She'd been lying about everything. I sat on my couch, staring at my phone, trying to process what this meant. If Rachel wasn't seeing a doctor, then she wasn't really pregnant, but that was impossible. I'd seen her belly grow. I'd watched her waddle and complain about back pain and crave weird food combinations, unless she'd been faking all of that too. I thought back to all the times she'd avoided letting people touch her stomach, the loose clothing, the way she always seemed to know exactly what to say about pregnancy symptoms, but never had specific stories about her experiences. My laptop was sitting on the coffee table. I opened it and started researching fake pregnancy bellies. What I found made me sick. There were dozens of websites selling silicone bumps for pregnancy photos and theatrical purposes. Some looked incredibly realistic. The reviews were full of women talking about how convincing they looked, how comfortable they were to wear, how they could fool anyone. I scrolled through image after image of fake bellies. They came in different sizes for different stages of pregnancy. They had instructions for how to attach them securely. They even had tips for how to to make the pregnancy look more realistic with posture changes and clothing choices. One review caught my attention. Perfect for maintaining a pregnancy deception long term. Comfortable enough to wear all day and realistic enough that even my closest friends believed it. I slammed the laptop shut. I couldn't be thinking this. This was Rachel, my best friend. The woman who'd held me while I cried after my last breakup. Who'd driven me to the emergency room when I broke my wrist. Who'd been my maid of honor when I married and divorced my college boyfriend. But the evidence was right there. No doctor, no hospital records, fake bellies readily available online. I grabbed my keys and drove to Rachel's house. I had to see her. I had to look her in the eye and ask her directly what was going on. Her car was in the driveway, but when I knocked on the door, no one answered. "Rachel, I know you're home," I called. "Your car's here." Still nothing. I walked around to the back of the house. The sliding door to the patio was open, and I could hear voices inside. Rachel's voice, but she wasn't talking to a baby. She was on the phone. I know, she was saying. "I can't keep this up much longer. Everyone's asking questions." I moved closer to the door, staying out of sight. Brett's getting suspicious too. He keeps asking when he can meet the baby. I keep telling him you need rest, but he's not buying it anymore. There was a pause while whoever was on the other end of the call spoke. "No, I can't tell him the truth. Are you insane? He'd leave me. Everyone would leave me." Another pause. I don't know what I was thinking when I started this. I wanted it so badly. And when Chloe got so excited, I couldn't bear to disappoint her. I pressed myself against the side of the house, my heart racing. She was talking about me. She's been the perfect friend through all of this. Planning the shower, buying gifts, coming to fake appointments with me. She's going to hate me when she finds out. The person on the other end said something that made Rachel start crying. I know I need to tell her. I know. But how do you tell your best friend that you've been lying to them for 8 months? How do you admit that you made them complicit in a fake pregnancy? I couldn't listen anymore. I stumbled back to my car, my mind reeling. Rachel had just confessed to everything. She'd admitted the pregnancy was fake. She'd admitted to lying for months. But I still didn't have proof. A phone conversation I overheard wouldn't be enough to confront her. She could deny it, claim I misunderstood, make up another story. I needed evidence. I drove home and went straight to my computer. If Rachel had been buying fake pregnancy supplies, there might be traces of it online. I started with social media, scrolling through her posts from the past 8 months. The pregnancy announcement photo looked genuine. Rachel and Brett smiling at the camera, her holding a positive pregnancy test. But looking at it now, something seemed off. The lighting was weird. The pregnancy test looked too perfect, too clearly visible. I kept scrolling. Baby bump photos at 12 weeks, 16 weeks, 20 weeks. But in every single photo, Rachel was wearing loose clothing, or had her arms positioned strategically across her stomach. There wasn't a single clear shot of her bare belly, which was strange for someone who'd seemed so excited about documenting her pregnancy. I found the photos from her baby shower. Rachel opening gifts, thanking everyone, posing with the cake I'd ordered. But in photo after photo, she looked uncomfortable, stiff, like she was performing rather than celebrating. One photo stopped me cold. It was taken from the side while Rachel was bending over to pick up wrapping paper. Her shirt had ridden up slightly, and I could see a clear line where her belly ended and her real body began. It looked like the edge of a prosthetic. I zoomed in on the photo. There was definitely a visible line, like a seam where two different materials met. How had I not noticed this at the time? I kept searching, looking for any other evidence I might have missed. In her texts to me over the months, she'd always been vague about symptoms. Feeling sick today, instead of specific details about morning sickness. Baby's active, instead of stories about particular movements or kicks. When I really thought about it, all of Rachel's pregnancy updates had been generic, like she was reading from a book about what pregnancy was supposed to be like rather than actually experiencing it. I opened my email and searched for messages from Rachel. Maybe there was something there I'd overlooked. Most of the emails were normal friend stuff, but there was one from 3 months ago that caught my attention. She'd forwarded me a funny article about pregnancy cravings, but when I looked at the email headers, I could see she'd originally received it as part of a pregnancy newsletter. I clicked on the original source. It was from a website about fake pregnancies. Not medical information about phantom pregnancies or pseudosciasis, but actual advice for people who wanted to pretend to be pregnant. The article Rachel had forwarded was titled, "Maintaining Your Fake Pregnancy, Common Symptoms to Mention." She'd forwarded me an article from a website about faking pregnancies, and I'd laughed at it, thinking it was just a random funny thing she'd found online. I felt sick. How long had Rachel been planning this? How much research had she done to make it convincing? I searched through more of her emails, looking for other clues. There weren't many, but I found one more that made my stomach turn. A confirmation email from an online store, dated 6 months ago. The subject line was, "Your order has shipped," but the content was cut off in the preview. I clicked to open the full email. It was a shipping confirmation for a premium silicone pregnancy prosthetic, stage 2, for 6 months, from a theatrical supply company. She'd ordered it. She'd literally ordered a fake pregnancy belly online and had it shipped to her house. I stared at the screen, feeling like everything I thought I knew about my best friend was crumbling. This wasn't a desperate woman making a mistake. This was someone who had planned and researched and executed an elaborate deception. For 8 months, Rachel had been lying to everyone. To me, to Brett, to her family, to her coworkers. She'd thrown a baby shower where dozens of people brought gifts for a baby that didn't exist. She'd accepted congratulations and advice and support from people who genuinely cared about her. And worst of all, she'd made me complicit in the lie. Every time I'd vouched for her to other people, every time I'd made excuses for her strange behavior, every time I'd helped her maintain the fiction by planning events or covering for her, I'd been helping her deceive everyone we both cared about. I printed out the shipping confirmation. Then I took screenshots of the social media posts that showed the seam in her fake belly. I saved received the email about fake pregnancy symptoms. I had my proof. Now I just had to decide what to do with it. I drove back to Rachel's house Tuesday morning with the printed evidence in my purse. My plan was simple: show her what I'd found, demand the truth, and figure out how to move forward from there. But when I pulled into her driveway, Brett's car was there too. Through the front window, I could see both of them sitting on the couch, and Brett looked upset. I knocked on the door. Rachel answered, still wearing the oversized hoodie from when I'd found the fake belly in her bedroom. Chloe, hi, this isn't a good time. I think it's the perfect time, I said, pushing past her into the living room. Brett looked up when I walked in. His eyes were red and his hair was messed up like he'd been running his hands through it. Chloe, thank God, he said, standing up. Maybe you can help me understand what's going on. Rachel keeps telling me the baby is fine, but I haven't seen any proof. No pictures, no hospital bracelet, nothing. And now she's saying we can't tell anyone about the birth because of some medical privacy thing that makes no sense. I looked at Rachel. She was staring at the floor, her arms wrapped around herself. Rachel, I said quietly, I think we need to talk. I told you this isn't a good time. It's exactly the right time. I pulled the printed shipping confirmation out of my purse. Because Brett deserves to know the truth, just like I deserved to know the truth. Rachel's face went white when she saw the paper. What is that? Brett asked. It's a receipt, I said, handing it to him, for a silicone pregnancy prosthetic that your wife ordered 6 months ago. Brett stared at the paper, his mouth opening and closing like he couldn't find words. Rachel, he said finally, what is this? I can explain, she whispered. Explain what? Explain why you bought a fake pregnancy belly? His voice was getting louder. Explain why you've been lying to me for months? It's not what you think. Then what is it? I pulled out my phone and showed him the screenshot from her baby shower. Because this is a photo from your baby shower, and you can clearly see the edge of a prosthetic under your shirt. Brett looked at the photo, then at Rachel, then back at the photo. Oh my God, Rachel, are you telling me you faked an entire pregnancy? Rachel started crying, but she still didn't answer. Where's the baby, Rachel? Brett's voice cracked. Where is our baby? There is no baby, I said when Rachel remained silent. There never was a baby. She's been wearing a fake belly for 8 months. Brett sat down hard like his legs had given out. This can't be real. This can't be happening. I wanted to tell you, Rachel said through her tears. I tried to tell you so many times, but I didn't know how. How about with the truth? Brett's voice was cold now. How about by saying, hey Brett, I'm not actually pregnant. I've been lying to you for almost a year. I was scared you'd leave me. Leave you? Rachel, we've been married for 3 years. Why would you think I'd leave you over something like infertility? Because everyone leaves, she sobbed. Everyone always leaves when things get hard. I sat down across from them, my anger mixing with something that felt like pity. Rachel, who told you that? Who made you believe that people would abandon you if you couldn't have kids? Nobody had to tell me. I just knew. Look at how obsessed everyone gets with babies and families. It's all anyone talks about. And you were so excited when I told you we were trying. And then when it didn't happen month after month, I could see the disappointment in your eyes. The disappointment was for you, I said, because I knew how much you wanted it, not because I thought less of you. But it would have happened eventually. You would have gotten tired of being around someone who couldn't give you what you had, someone who was broken. Rachel, that's not true, Brett said. That's not who we are. That's not who Chloe is. Isn't it though? Rachel looked up at both of us. Be honest. If I had told you last year that we'd been trying for a year with no success, if I'd told you that the doctors thought it might never happen naturally, would you really have stuck around? Would you really have been okay with being married to someone who might never give you kids? Brett was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was gentle. Rachel, we never even talked about kids being a deal breaker. We talked about wanting them, yes, but we also talked about adoption, about other options, about being okay if it was just us. But you wanted biological kids. You wanted to experience pregnancy and birth and all of that. I wanted those things with you, he said, but I wanted you more. I married you, not your reproductive system. Rachel was sobbing now, ugly crying in a way that made her whole body shake. I know that now, she said. I know how ridiculous this all was, but once I started the lie, I didn't know how to stop. Every day it got bigger and more complicated, and I kept thinking I'd figure out a way to fix it, or maybe I'd actually get pregnant for real and it wouldn't matter. So you just decided to fake it for 9 months instead? I couldn't keep the hurt out of my voice. You let me plan a baby shower for a baby that didn't exist. You let me buy gifts and get excited and tell everyone how proud I was of you. I know, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this, Rachel. Do you have any idea how humiliated I'm going to be when people find out? Do you know what this does to my credibility? To my trust in my own judgment? I never meant for it to hurt you, but it did hurt me. It hurt me, and it hurt Brett. And it's going to hurt everyone who cared about you and believed in you. Brett stood up and started pacing. I can't wrap my head around this. The doctor appointments, the ultrasounds, the morning sickness, all of it was fake? I researched everything, Rachel said quietly. I found websites that explained what pregnancy was supposed to feel like at each stage. I made up stories about doctor visits. The ultrasound photos came from online. And the belly? I started with padding, but it looked obviously fake. So I bought the prosthetic. It was expensive, but it looked real. Jesus, Rachel. Brett stopped pacing and stared at her. Do you hear yourself? You researched how to fake a pregnancy. You bought professional props. You planned this. I didn't plan it. It just happened and then it spiraled. No, I said. You don't accidentally research fake pregnancies and order prosthetics. You don't accidentally maintain a lie for 8 months. This was a choice you made every single day. Rachel looked at me with red, swollen eyes. I know you hate me now. I don't hate you, I said, and I meant it. But I don't trust you, and I don't know if I ever will again. What happens now? Brett asked. How do we even begin to clean this up? We tell the truth, I said. We tell everyone the truth, and we deal with the consequences. Everyone's going to ask questions, Rachel said. They're going to want to know why I did it, and I don't have a good answer. You tell them you were struggling with infertility and made a terrible mistake, Brett said. You tell them you're getting help and you're sorry for lying. What about the gifts from the baby shower? What about all the people who congratulated us? We return what we can and donate the rest, I said. And you apologize to everyone personally. Every single person who came to that shower deserves to hear from you directly. Rachel nodded, tears still streaming down her face. And you get therapy, Brett added. nodded. Serious therapy. Because this level of deception isn't normal, Rachel. This isn't just being embarrassed about infertility. This is something deeper. Will you stay? She asked him. Will you stay with me while I figure this out? Brett was quiet for a long time. I don't know, he said finally. I need time to process this. I need to understand how the person I married could lie to me about something this big for this long. I understand. Do you? He asked. Because I'm not sure you do. I'm not sure you understand that trust isn't something you can just apologize your way back to. It's something you have to rebuild, one honest conversation at a time. Rachel looked at both of us. Will you help me? Will you help me figure out how to fix this? I thought about it. Part of me wanted to walk away, to protect myself from any more of her chaos. But another part of me remembered the woman who'd been my best friend for 8 years, who'd supported me through my own mistakes and failures. I'll help you tell people the truth, I said. But that's all I can promise right now. The rest is up to you. 6 months later, Rachel and I meet for coffee every other Wednesday. It's not the same as it was before. We're more careful with each other now, more aware of the spaces between what we say and what we mean. She's in therapy twice a week and has been diagnosed with anxiety and depression that apparently started long before the fake pregnancy. The therapist says the lie was Rachel's way of trying to control a situation that felt completely out of her control. But that doesn't excuse the choice she made to deceive everyone who loved her. Brett moved out for 3 months, but came back after Rachel started making real progress in counseling. They're in couples therapy now, working on rebuilding trust and communication. It's slow going, but they're both committed to trying. Most of our mutual friends know the truth now. Rachel told them herself, just like we'd agreed. Some were understanding, others felt betrayed and haven't spoken to her since. The fallout was brutal, but she handled it with more grace than I expected. The hardest part for me wasn't the embarrassment or the lost trust. It was realizing that my best friend had been in so much pain that she thought lying was easier than being vulnerable. It made me question whether I'd been as good a friend as I thought I was, whether I'd created an environment where she felt she couldn't tell me hard truths. We're rebuilding our friendship on different terms now. More honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. Better boundaries, even when it feels awkward. And a shared understanding that trust, once broken, requires patience and consistency to repair. Rachel still struggles with the shame of what she did, but she's learning to sit with uncomfortable feelings instead of trying to escape them through elaborate deceptions. It's messy work, but it's honest work. And honestly, despite everything, I'm glad we're still in each other's lives. Because the Rachel who lied to me for 8 months is the same Rachel who drove 4 hours to my grandmother's funeral and held my hair back when I was sick. People are complicated, and friendship, real friendship, means loving someone enough to help them face their worst impulses and grow past them. It's not the friendship we had before, but it might be better, because now it's built on truth instead of the stories we told ourselves about who we were supposed to be.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop your favorite part in the comments. See you in the next one.